Hello, it's Crystal Diaz here, and in this video, I'm going to teach you how to sing a 1-minute cover version of the song Eternal Flame by the Bangles. This song is one that I've grown up with. I've listened to it and I've sung it. I've never performed it though, but it is one of those songs that every time I hear it, I can't help but sing along to, and I hope you feel the same way too. And by the way, be sure to watch until the end of this video because I've got a 1-minute instrumental version of the song that you can use to practice for your own cover version. This song is a great one to practice for many reasons, actually. Number one is that it provides opportunities to really work on the notes within the first bridge of what is the typical female vocal range. The vocal range is comprised of a series of sections. At least we can think of it that way. There's a lower part, there's a middle part, and there's the higher parts of our range. Now, if we think about it as different sections, then the parts that connect the sections together are referred to as the vocal bridge or passaggio or transitions. One of the hardest things to learn actually when it comes to singing is how to navigate those transition points or those bridges. And so whenever I work with students and their goal is to increase their range or to just have greater flexibility, almost always I will have them working on the first bridge or that first transition point. And so this song is a great song to work on that because this particular key, where this song is played at originally, sits right at that part of the voice. Now, if your voice sits more within what is known as the typical male vocal range, then this song in the key that we're going to be learning it in is going to be working on the notes in your second bridge. So if you have more of a typical male vocal range and this is feeling uncomfortable for you, watch the tutorial anyway, learn the tools, but practice this song at a lower key. You can find many karaoke versions online of this song that are played in a lower key, and I'll link to those in the description. If you are working with a coach, then you will probably know exactly what I'm talking about here. But if you are working on your own and you're not sure and you're confused about what I'm talking about in terms of bridges and you want to learn more, I do go through all of that inside of my vocal alignment system course. It's my signature course, which you can get access to if you join my Singers Connect membership. All right, so let's get started. In terms of the arrangement of this 1-minute cover, to make it more interesting, I have decided to combine the first verse with the chorus. I decided to take the most iconic parts of the song and put them together into one. Incidentally, if you're somebody who's thinking, well, I don't want to just learn a 1-minute cover version of this song, I want to learn the entire song. So let me share something with you it took me a very long time to learn, is that when it comes to vocal practicing, unless you're performing this song like tomorrow or next week and you're performing a full version, then of course you have to learn the whole song. But when it comes to regular vocal practicing, whether you're working with me privately or you're working with me through my Singers Connect membership, I always encourage them to break the song down into 1-minute chunks and then really dive into that 1-minute chunk as opposed to going from beginning all the way to the end, going back to the beginning all the way to the end. When we divide a song into 1-minute chunks, it's enough for us to really sink our teeth into or sink our voices into, but not so much that we can get overwhelmed or lose focus. And when it comes to practicing, focus is so important. In terms of how to do this, I go through all of that inside of my course. But for you, if you're somebody who's just following along and wanting to get more bang for your buck every single time you practice, then I highly encourage you to think about practicing your songs in 1-minute chunks. So for example, this week, practice 1 minute, this 1 minute, right? And then maybe next week, after you get the hang of this 1 minute, you can apply what you've learned in this 1 minute to the rest of the song. And you will find that already gives you so many tools to work with. All right, so let's get started with the song. As you can see, I've already broken it down into different phrase chunks. So phrase chunking is a term that I use inside of my program, and it essentially refers to the set of words that are between breath points. Okay, so you take a breath, close your eyes is one phrase chunk, take a breath, give me your hand is the next phrase chunk. So the first phrase chunk here goes, close your eyes, right? And we can easily say that it's just 3 notes. close your eyes. But if we just sing it straight like that, then it's not very interesting, right? We're not really imbuing our voices with any kind of emotional or expressive intention. And it's kind of like speaking in a monotone voice. If I go, close your eyes, give me your hand, right? That's not very interesting, right? Very robotic. That's why singing is such a wonderful way to learn how to speak with greater emotional expression and with greater dynamics as well. So what I want you to do here is think of the word close as two notes that we're bending through. Close. It's almost like a da-da, close your eyes. And even the word eyes has a little bit of that bounce in it too. So I'm not bouncing it like close your eyes. I'm not bouncing it like that, but I'm kind of leaning into it. Close your eyes. And I call this really singing into the vowel of the sound. Close, close. If you just practice that a few times, you can already hear how that brings out some kind of energy, right? It changes the energetic tone of the sound, as opposed to just going, close your eyes. You see, that's very, very flat. But if I go, close, I'm literally actually singing close. So I'm adding an additional vowel sound here. Close. Close, like that, but I'm doing it very quickly. Take a breath. Give me your hand. So two notes the same, the your goes up. Give me your hand. Take a breath. Darling. So this one here, if the note feels low, here's a little trick for you. You can utilize the consonant, in this case it's the letter D, to instigate a sound. Darling, right? So that's how I like to do it, because if I just go darling, that can actually sound a little bit too harsh. So I'm singing into the consonant first before I actually sing the word. Do this within reason. We don't want to be going darling so obviously. Okay, we're just touching on it a little bit. Darling, like that. Just really just touching on it. All right, next phrase chunk, we take a breath first. Do you feel my heart beating? So feel my heart is all the same note. Think about having a straight line on that. Feel my heart beating, because the beating, B, it stays on the same note and then it comes down. B, and that has two notes on the word beat. And so the reason why we want to do it that way is, or we want to practice it that way, it's a great way to really focus on pitch and staying on pitch, because it's easy, especially when a note repeats itself within a phrase chunk, it's easy to miss a note or two. For example, it's easy to fall out of balance like this. Feel my heart beating. It's easy to waver in that regard. So this is a great opportunity to focus on really paying attention to those pitches, those notes, knowing that it's the same note. And then here, do you understand? Now, understand comes back lower in the lower part of the range. And if this is low, again, here's a little trick for you. Instead of going, do you understand? You can hear how I'm just separating the sound. That's actually more aggressive on the voice, but also it makes it feel like you're reaching down for the low notes. It can make it feel that way. So instead of doing that, try this little tip. Do you So I'm adding a little W sound between the word you and understand. I'm literally saying wonderstand, right? Nobody's going to notice this when you're singing it in context, right? Nobody's going to say, oh my goodness, she didn't say understand, she said wonderstand. Nobody's going to say that. But you as a singer, you will feel how much easier that flows, right? Do you understand? And then next line here, do you feel the same? So the word the same here, this note here is a B4. It can be uncomfortable to hit. It's susceptible to some of that tension, the throat tension. And so in some ways, it's good to try to soften this out here, to work on it gradually by singing in a more softer, diffused tonal sound like this. The same, like that, as opposed to trying to hit it like straight on like this. The same, and then risk straining the voice. So if this is a note that feels strenuous for you, I would definitely recommend going more in that diffused core sound quality. That's what I call it, diffused core sound. The same, like this, to practice that. Vocalize within that note, around that note, a few times with the letter H. Hey, or he, ha. Just go through a couple of different vowels just to get acclimatized to that part of the voice. And then you can replace that with the word. Hey, hey, the same, right? And then when you do that, actually, it adds some nice styling to the sound too, right? It's a nice dynamic change. Oh, one little thing here, there's a lot of D's. So we just talked about darling, do you feel my heart beating? Do you understand? And now it's do you feel the same? And so when I see repeated sounds like that, I just use that as an opportunity to get consistent in how I'm pronouncing the words. So here's what I mean. If I'm going, darling, do you feel my heart beating? Do you understand? Do you hear how every single time I pronounce the letter D, I'm actually going, do you? And so I'm doing that intentionally to actually give some styling to my voice, but also it sets up a nice little rhythmic pattern. So I'm really bouncing off of that letter D, and it gives my voice some momentum, as opposed to just going, do you feel the same? It feels like it's harder for me to bring energy into my voice if I don't do that little thing with the letter D, okay? So I give that a go. When you come back here to the word am I, you're coming back down to the lower register, so you want to try to get grounded on that. So we try not to do this. Do you feel the same? Am I on? We don't want to come back down to this next phrase chunk in a very diffused way, because you will run out of breath really fast. So instead, try to see if you can go back into that more a solid sound. Am I only dreaming? And it's important to actually do it here, because the last line here, what I want to do is go into the higher note here. In the original song, if you sing it from the beginning to end, this part here goes, am I only dreaming? Is this burning an eternal flame? It comes down and then it goes into the second verse. But in our version, we're going to challenge ourselves and we're going to hit the higher note version of this phrase chunk here. So we're going to go, am I only dreaming? Dream of dreamin' has two notes. Dreamin'. And then we go to the word min of that word. Then we're going to say the word or. And then we're going to jump up to that C5. Or is this burning? And so what I encourage you to do here is to link the R of the word or to the is. Okay, that's going to make this so much easier, as opposed to going something like or is and then trying to hit it on its own as one sound. It's much easier to go or is, or is, or is, or is this burning? And I would really inflect on the letter B of the word burning to get some energy and some momentum into the voice, like really energize the voice here. And make sure you're anchored on this, okay? Because this is right. You're going straight into that the end of the first bridge here of the typical female vocal range, and it can be tight and uncomfortable. So if this is tight and uncomfortable, I encourage you to go, is this burning? You can totally do that sound. That's the diffused core sound. But if you want to challenge yourself, make sure that you're anchoring into this. Okay, so there are exercises that I teach that will teach you how to do that. And so make sure that you're applying that downward energy here. So let's try that all together. Or is this burning? Burning, you can do that. An eternal flame. So the word and here is the same note as is. So it goes back to that C5. And because it can be challenging, I would add a little H to the word and. So instead of going and, which can be, again, quite aggressive or abrasive on the voice if you're not comfortable with it. So I would soften it out by adding a tiny little H to the and. Like you can practice this a few times first before singing the line. An eternal flame, and then sing the word, okay? And I would definitely link the N of the word and to eternal. So it sounds like I'm singing an eternal. The reason we do that is to continue that flow of the voice as opposed to stopping it at the throat. So if we go, an eternal well, that's way harder. I would never sing it that way because it doesn't feel good to me to do it that way. And if you're a beginner singer and you're just learning to navigate that first bridge, then I definitely would not recommend doing that. I would link them all together instead. So now we've got to the end of the first verse. We're moving straight into the chorus here. And so this is the exciting part of this cover version, right? Because we're going say my name right after the word flame, and the vowels are similar, right? That has that A vowel there. I would definitely sing into that vowel, the A vowel in the word flame, like this. An eternal flame, flame. Really hold out that vowel so that when I sing the next phrase chunk, which is say my name, the vowel will resonate in a similar tonal quality. So say my name, say and name, I'm really utilizing the same acoustic space as the word flame. And that just really makes it a nice way to end the verse and move on to the chorus without losing that energy or that momentum that you've built up. Okay, so work on that. Say my name, take a breath. Sun shines through, all the same note. Sun shines through the rain, rain. And you can bounce on that letter R of the word rain too to continue that energy build up there. Rain, kind of like that. And it makes that 3-note little run there more effective as well. Sun shines through the rain, a whole life. So here is the word whole. A whole, it changes the vowel here to an O sound. So previously, the predominant vowel, right, on the previous 2 phrase chunks and the one before is flame, say, name, rain. But here it changes to a whole life, and it goes into that nice O sound. And so what I would do actually is utilize that word to change the color tone of this chorus here. In other words, I would emphasize that O vowel sound. And so why I bring this up is because really, if we think about vowels, that's where color tones come in. So if I go, a whole life, so lonely, it completely changes the timbre of the voice. But if I go instead, a whole life, so lonely, it brings in some of those darker, deeper tones in my voice. It just adds different coloring to the picture, right? It just makes it a little bit more interesting and more fun as a singer as well. So give that a try. And this is also a tool that works whether you are singing or speaking. So when I'm working with my speaking clients, I go through the same process too. I teach my speaking clients how to change the color tone of their voices by changing the vowel shape, or just being aware of how you can change the vowel shape to introduce different kinds of color tones and inflections into what you are saying. It's really, really fascinating. I can totally geek out on this nonstop, but I'm going to stop. All right, let's keep going. Sun shines through the rain, a whole life. Take a breath. So lonely, so, and really emphasize that O sound there. So lonely. You can do that too. So lonely. And to really bring out that feeling of the loneliness in this part of the song here. So lonely. It's fun to do that. Take a breath. And then you come and ease the pain. And here's a nice little dynamic shift here that we can play with because of the nature of the lyrics, right? A whole life so lonely, and then you come and ease the pain. So it makes sense then to sing a whole life so lonely with that more of that darker, kind of like more somber, sadder tone. And then you come and ease the pain, right? We change the mood of that part for this line here to enhance that message of that, and then you come and ease the pain, right? So it's less painful. So let's change the color tone of the voice. I don't want to lose this feeling. I would say wanna as opposed to want to, just to make it a little bit more conversational. And the word feeling here, because that word feeling does go into the A4, which is the beginning of the first bridge of the typical female vocal range. And so this is a part where the voice can feel a little stuck. So again, this is a great practice point for you, right? So instead of going feeling, if you're feeling you're doing that, you have 2 options. Number 1, you can go into that diffused chorus sound. I don't want to lose this feeling, and go here. Totally fine. But if you want to challenge yourself and you want to stick with more of that solid sound, then you have to watch your vowels here. Instead of going feeling, feeling, make sure you're dropping your jaw, parting the teeth a little bit to create a bit of space. It's just giving yourself a little bit more space to ease up on some of the throat tension here. And actually, it's great that there's a letter F here, because that letter F is already going to help soften out the sound. So use that letter F to your advantage. Really go, feeling. You can really breathe into that letter F to loosen up any throat tension here. Feeling and feeling. I would definitely say feeling as opposed to feeling. Feeling. That doesn't work for me, right? So it just feels awkward to me. Feeling. Len, and then it keeps my mouth open when I sing it that way, which keeps the color tone more vibrant in a way. And take a breath. You have a couple options here. In my cover version, I went, oh, I went a little bit stronger here, but you can also go, oh, like that as a way to end your cover version. And a little practice point that you can work on here is if you have vibrato, then you can add a vibrato at the end. So, and do that. Or if that is not available to you right now, you can just keep it as a straight tone, but hold the vowel on that O shape. Okay, so don't go and then close off. Keep that shape there. And then at the end there, I go ho. So I add two little vowels there, ho, and then I soften out the dynamics of those that last little ooh there. Again, the point here is really to offer some options for you and to show you that it really is your story to tell. The more tools we have at our disposal, the better we are at expressing a story in multiple different ways, and the different ways in which we express ourselves will resonate differently with our listeners as well. All right, we've done it. You now have all the tools and strategies to really dive into and practice your 1-minute cover version of Eternal Flame by the Bangles. If you end up recording and posting your version of the song based on this tutorial, I would love to hear it. Be sure to share a link to your cover version in the comments below if you're watching on YouTube, or post it on Instagram and find me at Crystal Vocals. Be sure to tag me. I'd love to check it out. And of course, if you want feedback and guidance from myself and my team of mentor coaches on your covers or on your vocal technique, on your vocal journey in general, even if you are a complete beginner, then I invite you to consider joining me inside of Singers Connect. You'll get access to my entire course, monthly practice prompts, and weekly practice tips as well. It's a wonderful community to be part of, and I would love to have you there if it resonates with you. And before you go, be sure to check out my other song tutorials here as well. I also have a podcast where I talk about voice in general. So not necessarily to do with singing, but how the voice can be so powerful when it comes to our self-expression or our discovery of ourselves and how we communicate and show up in the world, how we share our message. So I hope you find those videos helpful as well. Until next time. Close your eyes, give me your hand, darling. Do you feel my heart beating? Do you understand? Do you feel the same? Am I only dreaming, or is this burning an eternal flame? Say my name, sun shines through the rain. A whole life so lonely, and then you come and ease the pain. I don't wanna lose this feeling.